Hello everyone and welcome back to a brand new video and welcome back to round 8 of our F124 Salvaging Sauber career mode. We return this weekend ready for the Spanish Grand Prix. If you missed out on the video that went live a few days ago from Montreal, I would highly recommend going back and checking it out. Quickly, before we get any further, I've changed some of the components in the car, so hopefully reliability issues aren't going to be too much of a problem here in Barcelona. Having a look at our World Championship, Max Verstappen still dominating the way now with a 66-point lead at the top of the table after just 7 races. Carlos Sainz very consistent so far, running up in P2, just ahead of Lando Norris and Charles Leclerc. We are down in P12 at the moment, my worst result of the year coming last weekend in Montreal. We tried to be aggressive, we tried to gamble the strategy, and it just didn't really pay off for us when all was said and done. So I'm hoping that we can have a bit of a better turnaround today. P7 still in the Constructors' Championship, still just 2 points behind Alpine and just 2 points ahead of Williams at the moment as well. There is still a lot of work to do as we make our way through this campaign. Of course, a massive thank you to everybody for the support on the channel recently. You know, like we said, we've ticked past 6,000 subscribers, but if you aren't already, please do make sure you hit that sub button as well. Of course, the next goal being 7k as well there. I want to try and get 2 seasons of this series done before F125 releases. So we're going to start bringing these episodes a little bit more thick and fast coming your way as well. But yeah, let's head out then ready for the Spanish Grand Prix.
Hello everyone, it is a track the drivers know oh so well. It is qualifying in Barcelona for the Spanish Grand Prix.
I really have put a lot of effort into the setup this weekend once again to try and make sure that not only are we fairly quick, but also that we feel fairly comfortable as we come here to Barcelona. Huge wave of upgrades going on to the car as well. Has now hopefully elevated us ahead of Alpine in terms of overall performance. We're still second bottom ranked though at the moment, but we are pretty much tied with the likes of VCarb and Williams as well. So hopefully with kind of the steady build-up of upgrades that are coming to the car, we can try and move our way up the order. Kind of I want to, by the end of this first season, hopefully have a car that is able to kind of fight for points fairly regularly, but only time will tell just how well we're going to be able to get this Sauber before F125 releases as well. Up through Campsa, completely flat out. Of course, your setups are slightly compromised here anyway, for the fact that you've just got to make sure that you're not overheating the tyres as well when you get into a race stint. So yeah, definitely have tried to make sure that we avoid that, but so far then this lap feeling alright. But Barcelona is a very, very competitive circuit from all of the AI as well. Max Verstappen though, through the final corner, looks like he is going to claim yet another pole position this season. Really nailed that final corner though. I think that's a season best P14. Well, there we go. Max Verstappen will line up P1 just ahead of Charles Leclerc there. Both Spaniards on the second row, ahead of Hamilton and Oscar Piastri. Sergio Perez, he'll be a little bit disappointed down in P10, but then a 4/10 gap between him and Pierre Gasly there. We narrowly missed out actually on starting about P12 here. So that was a really, really good lap time from myself in the end. You can just see how many cars we were able to jump through that final corner as well by having a bit of extra confidence in the car. Bottas down in P19, not great from our teammate, but hopefully we can both move forward in the race.
Circuit of Barcelona, Catalonia has been on the calendar for over 30 years now, and it has served up some classics. Michael Schumacher's first win for Ferrari in 1996 in the rain. We have much better weather here today for the Spanish Grand Prix. It's a sellout crowd of 140,000 here today as we await lights out for the long run down into Turn 1. This is a 2.9-mile racetrack. Overtaking is challenging here, to put it mildly. There are 16 corners, but there's still a lot of drama and excitement to be found out there on track. It's time to see how our drivers are stacking up after yesterday's exciting qualifying session. Fantastic effort from Charles Leclerc yesterday, and it's put him on pole. And it's Fernando Alonso alongside. Looking at the rest of today's grid, we have Sainz, Hamilton, Oscar Piastri, Verstappen, Norris, Russell, Stroll, Perez, Gasly, Ricciardo, Ocon, Mr. Monaco, Tsunoda, Hulkenberg, Albon, Magnussen, Bottas and Logan Sargent. That's it then, it's time to go racing as we head down trackside for today's race. Welcome to the commentary box and welcome to Naomi Schiff. I'm Alex Jakes. Naomi, this is going to be interesting. Well, this is the most advanced sport anywhere on the planet. How's it changed since you were last racing?
It is certainly an interesting time in this set of regulations because, as you know, when a new set of regulations come out, everything changes and you always wonder who's got it right. Well, we know the Redbull are the ones who really got it right the last couple of years. But now you can see the rest of the grid slowly start to catch up and there's really only so much left for Redbull to get out of these regulations. So it is interesting, and the pack are catching up.
Well, Naomi Schiff, they're saying that the pack is slowly closing in on Red Bull at the top of the performance. Max Verstappen doesn't seem to have got that memo, though. Keeps just chalking up wins like they're going out of style so far this campaign. Team want us to go with a very, very aggressive one-stop. I do not want to risk it here. We're going to opt for the medium and then make the switch over to the hards. I would rather just hopefully not have to worry about tyre temperature management throughout this Grand Prix today. Lining up P14 though, ready here in Barcelona as we wait on the grid for those 5 red lights. It's lights out and away we go then here, trying to get off to a fairly clean, tidy start. Perez doesn't seem to have done a particularly good job there, so we will try and have a look around the outside of him and the V-carb in towards turn 1. Oh, just, whoa, hello. That was a little bit scary at the last moment. Everybody kind of broke a little bit earlier than I was expecting to. And well, we've gained 2 places from it then. A bit of an aggressive dive bomb accidentally down at turn 1 there. But I wasn't expecting, I think that was Tsunoda, wasn't it? To kind of cover me off and move to the outside line in towards that first corner. So we kind of had to send it. And Perez then down to at the very best P13 in this Grand Prix. The Alpine there, just everybody Constantine up. So we'll try to avoid him as we make our way down in towards the bottom of the circuit there. But definitely, as this season has gone on, I'm still not fantastic with it. I'm definitely starting to learn a bit more where like the front wing is and things like that. It doesn't feel particularly kind of intuitive inside the F1 games. It's definitely their cockpit cam experience is still something I'd love to see kind of tweaked and enhanced for future titles. But as we make our way then round towards the end of lap 1, I would assume it's still Verstappen leading the way at the front of the order. But yeah, we've done very well here, and if we can stick with those Alpines, maybe a point could be possible. Well, being obviously on those harder compound tyres than most other runners in this race, it's going to be the really early laps where I'm sure we're going to struggle against the rest of our competitors. As long as we can stay inside the DRS range and get to about kind of lap 5, lap 6, hopefully then the advantage will start to come our way a little bit more. You can already see there, we must have been just inside that DRS from, I don't even know which Alpine it is directly in front of me, but Lance Stroll maybe now starting to get a bit disconnected from your top 8. That works wonders. There we go, that didn't last long then. Immediately we've dropped out of the range now of Esteban Ocon in front, so here comes Sergio Perez flying down our inside, back in towards the first corner.
Make a mistake and we could still regain the position.
Yeah, we've now got to try and use Perez for that DRS, but again, we've really tried to drain a lot of the battery early on as well to stay competitive here. Perez is kind of my last golden ticket early on. Well, I know we've said it quite a few times then inside F1 24, but ERS and DRS really do dominate the meta inside this game. This is the thing though I'm very quickly learning about the Sauber that's very kind of been exposed in the last couple of races. You cannot overdrive this car. It's really, really odd. Some Formula 1 cars you can really kind of try and absolutely push them kind of to and beyond the limit. This Sauber, you kind of get it up to about 95%, and then even kind of beyond that, it just starts to kind of overheat, overwork its tyres, everything else, and really just cannot operate very well. And obviously that's a really big issue around a circuit like this. I'm trying to do my best to kind of keep it in a window it's happy. But of course, yeah, I can't afford to risk losing the range to other cars. We're not overheating the tyres, but we definitely would be if we'd gone with the soft. Well, no idea what's going on in front of me, but this is definitely starting to present a big opportunity here. I think one of the Mercs it might have been, or it might be Fernando Alonso in his Aston Martin, really now starting to battle with the Ferrari cars, but as everybody else now is kind of into limp to pit stop mode, this should be where our harder compound of rubber starts to kind of provide the advantage there. I think that was Tsunoda trying to have a look down my inside through the hairpin, just kind of seeing if an opportunity would open up. But Perez as well definitely wants to try and get a move on and get back past some of these slower cars as well. We could try and gamble and dive in a little bit early there, as you can see. More and more battling going on in front, and that might actually disconnect that group from the cars in front of them there. So I think it could be worth trying to gamble now into the pit lane, unless we can kind of move past a few more cars pretty quickly. Try and get the undercut and maybe jump a lot of these. I think that might be George Russell and Lando Norris then. I think they've just probably crept back into the range of that group in front. So I'm really kind of torn about what we should do at this stage of the race. I would have thought the AI would probably start diving in at the end of lap 10. And I mean, just look at the understeer through that final corner, being a little bit closer to the Red Bull. I think what we need to do is just try and save up some battery this lap and then try and pit, because we're basically going to need a qualifying out lap. Yellows, we've got yellows. Someone breaking down then in this Grand Prix, and I think that's a McLaren car then out of the GP. No idea whether that's Lando Norris or Oscar Piastri there as well. Perez, have to go around him, almost runs wide through the top of Campsa there. Did a very good job just to gather that back up. But yeah, I think, Lance Stroll then, I think he will now have lost the range to those cars in front. Admittedly, he did get a bit unlucky with where Lando Norris broke down and kind of blocked him, but now is our chance. We're going to peel into the pit lane then at the end of this lap. Very, very high-speed entry now, as we try and bring the car then into the pit lane. Hopefully we haven't been done for speeding. I think we were okay there. But yeah, we basically just now need a qualifying out lap in this Grand Prix if we want to try and get the undercut on some of these other cars here. Hopefully the team will give us a nice tidy pit stop as well. Sauber have not been fantastic this year. That was pretty good. That was pretty good. We'll take that one.
Looks like a nice stop time. We're happy with that one. Okay, stay clear of the white line on the exit. We'll receive a penalty for dangerous driving if you cross onto the track.
14 laps to go then of this race. Now is our chance to push. There we go, starting to see a few cars making their way back out of the pit lane then. So we're back into P15 of this race. Who is that in front though? Can't work out what that car is. Is that a Red Bull? Don't tell me that's Perez.
Verstappen's ahead of you, and gap to the car in front, 21.9 seconds. They're on fresh mediums.
Well, I thought that was a Red Bull car, but I certainly wasn't expecting it to be Verstappen. Don't know whether he struggled a little bit early on in this race or had a slow stop, but we are much closer to the Dutchman than I would ever expect. Got a lot of other cars then into the pit lane here at the end of lap 11, so I think we're going to have a better idea of where we're re-emerging. There we go, up in P11. There is the Red Bull of Sergio Perez, so we are up into the points then of this Grand Prix. Of course, one of those Alpines will have to stay out an extra lap here, so I don't know whether this is Gasly or Esteban Ocon that we've come out right behind. Can we try and get a run on them through turn 3 though? I don't think we can. Let's have a look.
That's Gasly ahead. Less than a second separates you. They're on fresh mediums.
So Ocon then might have been a bit thrown under the bus here. Either that or he's already pit and come out behind me. Well, into the final 10 laps then of this race. The goal now very, very simple. Just try to keep up with Pierre for at least the next few laps here. We might just be able to get a run on him back into turn 1. It's not actually my intention there in towards that first braking zone. But again, we've kind of just got to offset the advantage that the medium tyre will have here. Perez still right behind me. But of course, yeah, that Alpine, again on paper, not a particularly strong car, but definitely our constructors' rivals. Perez, I think Sergio, he looked to think about trying to get a run on me back into turn 1. Instead, though, we're going to try and get around the outside of Pierre Gasly and up into 9th spot then of this race. Pretty happy with that one, but the only thing I'm worried about now, of course, is that both of these guys behind will probably jump me again very quickly. Here we go then. Will it be Pierre Gasly? Will it be Sergio Perez? There it's going to be both of them back in towards turn 1, but Perez again is just going to get a little bit blocked in there, and we will get back around the outside of both cars through turn 1 then, if we can keep doing that towards the end of the afternoon. Okay, that's alright. I thought he was telling me my driving standards were erratic, but yeah, this works pretty well. We can control the pace through the middle sector, but I'm just worried that there's going to be more and more cars closing in, and what the rear brakes are doing. Oh, that time round's a bit more scary. Sergio Perez has found his way through and up then into P9 of the GP. Still in the points for now, then. Oh, it is so fun when you do save a slide in this car. But really, really scary. Only problem I've got, though, is I think Perez is probably just going to waltz away from me. Don't think we're going to stick in the DRS. It's been fun battling the Red Bull. But yeah, that might be Perez waving goodbye. Well, I'm certainly not going to let Perez run away without a bit of a fight for it at the moment. 5 laps to go here from Barcelona. And again, this track is fantastic. With the DRS zones being at opposite ends of the lap, it means you basically have got to try and not lose a second in half a lap rather than a full one here. So we're just using Perez as much to protect myself from the cars behind as I am to attack him. If we get to the last lap still in the range, you best believe I'm going to try it. Well, Mark's just come over the radio then telling us that one of the Mercedes, George Russell, seems to be slowing down towards the end of the afternoon. No idea how far up the road he is still, but I think that's still Lance Stroll that we can see. But 2 more laps then after this one, and we've just not let Perez get away. We've seen already in 2025, Red Bull still struggling to fill that second driver's seat early on in the year. But Perez then, 2 more laps to go. Is he going to be able to try and defend from a kick Sauber? So basically the only car Liam Lawson's been fighting with so far in this campaign then. Perez, he'll swing defensive back into turn 1. We'll try and have a look around the outside this time round there, and we will swoop through and back up into P9. The problem is now he's holding on to it, because of course now he'll have the DRS on me. 1 more lap to go then here from Spain, and honestly I don't think Max Verstappen's winning this one. We were so close to him when he came out of the pit lane. I actually think he's not in a particularly great spot at the moment. He's probably recovered back to like a podium or something like that, but we're just going to have to drain the battery back into turn 1 on this final lap. Perez, though, still closing in on me to the inside. The Red Bull's going to look, but he doesn't have the confidence on the brakes. So we will hopefully hang on then for P9 in this GP. And even better for us is the fact that Alpine, Williams, it doesn't look like they're going to be scoring points either here. So yeah, I mean, battling a Red Bull pretty much throughout the entirety of the afternoon. Certainly been a disappointing race for Sergio Perez as well. They have to go back to the drawing board and work out what went wrong. But I think ultimately, just a bit of a poor start there. I really did kind of leave him stuck, battling with kind of your Formula 1.5 so far this year. I reckon, though, it's a complete kind of guess, I guess. But I think it's going to be a Spaniard that's won this race. I'm going to say Carlos Sainz has been the victor this afternoon here in Espanyol. George Russell, disappointing for him to have to limp home towards the end of the Grand Prix. I've got no idea who's won this one, though, but I'm sure they've already crossed the finish line through the final corner. It is going to be our 3rd points finish of the year, P9 here at Barcelona. I was not expecting that.
What a drive! What a driver! Charles Leclerc takes the victory!
There was never a moment of doubt today. You could tell that they'd completely had it under control, and that is a sign of greatness.
Here come our winners now. A thrilling race and a tremendous effort by Ferrari. Their history is well known, so it's no surprise to fans the world over to see them come out on top once again.
Well, there we are then. Charles Leclerc actually takes victory. Ferrari back at 1-2 here in Spain. So what a result that is for them. Both Spaniards once more finishing on the podium, but I'm sure this one will mean a whole lot more getting that result here at home. But yeah, Leclerc, pole position, fastest lap, and race victory. I didn't realise that Verstappen had actually taken grid penalties coming into the GP, so that will explain why he really seemed to just struggle there. Got back to the kind of back of that front-running train, but can never really do anything else with it. We hang on, though, for P9, just ahead of Perez there. Alpine's down in 11th and 12th place. definitely have still got some good pace in that car. And I was correct. It was Lando Norris that failed to see the checkered flag this afternoon. Bottas as well, after a disappointing qualifying, showcase that he did have much better race pace in that car as well. Championship standings, though, Verstappen's gap at the top cut to just 56 points there. Charles Leclerc back within 4 of his teammates as Ferrari look comfortably now ahead of Lando Norris. Reliability has really just dogged him so far this year. Alonso still ahead of Hamilton, Perez still ahead of Russell and Oscar Piastri, and I guess our goal this season is try and see if we can beat Lance Stroll. It'll be a tall order, though, to try and do that one. Is still, yeah, myself, both Alpines and Albon with points on the board. Kick Sauber, though, we will jump Alpine then and up into P6 in the Constructors' Championship. Red Bull's margin at the top slashed to just 3 points as well there, with McLaren still in third ahead of Mercedes. But a lot of questions still to be answered as we head into the second half of the year. Thank you all so much for watching. If you have enjoyed, please do make sure you leave a like, get yourself subscribed, and we'll be back very soon when Formula 1 returns, ready for the first sprint of the year. We'll be back ready from the Austrian Grand Prix.